Hey y'all, Rick Rex here, back with another one for you, and today we have something special cooked up for all you nature lovers out there. Now we're concentrating on a ranged AOE loadout today, and you're going to be amazed at what nature is actually capable of. Now we're going to tackle the build, the loadout, the mods, the spec, artifacts, allies, and of course we're going to see what kind of damage this thing can do. Now this one is a 3-part loadout, and it honestly could be one of the hardest hitting bursts I have ever seen. But first, if you like what you see and you want more, hit that like and subscribe button to help keep the channel growing and also to not miss one single update as they drop. Okay, so nature ranged AOE. Nature appears to be really limited in what it can do, and you really only have a few select DPS powers that are going to work in your favor from a damage perspective. I was almost afraid I was going to end up having to dip into the iconic tree to make this one compete, but boy did it prove me wrong. By the end of this one, I was actually seeing parses that ran up well over the 300,000 range, and that is a huge chunk, y'all. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 3 setups that are going to happen here. All of them are really based off of one loadout, and they're all sustainable for long periods of time, but I find each is going to work best in a particular situation that'll happen in content in general, so I'm including all of them as well as parses reflecting each for damage comparison in certain situations. And to be clear, nature is not underpowered in any situation as it turns out. So let's start with our white mods as always. In our weapon, we're going replenishing adapter, so that way if we manage to run out of power somehow, we can get it back quickly. And this one really doesn't matter, to be honest, because nature is so power friendly, it's not even funny. And in our head, we're going supercharged gorilla form. Now this is going to be an intricate part of our loadout, and we want to make sure that it's ready when we want to use it, whatever situation may arise. In our neck, we're going escalating might as always, and in our back, we again don't have a cooldown issue with this loadout, so we can take advantage of that extra damage that's going to come from Berserker when that situation arises. In our chest, we're going penetrating strikes to leverage that lower NPC defense, and in our legs, we're going restorative serpent call to help out our healer when we throw it. In our feet, we're going tumbling master, and this one is almost a necessity in current content with all of the environmental obstacles that we're now facing, y'all. And in our hands, we're going max damage as always. For artifacts, we're going with the Trans Strat Quiz combo for this one. Trans for the extra crits that it provides, Strat to leverage those crits with innate damage, and Quiz for his extra supercharge, regular damage that he does when throwing a power, and Mega Blast when we throw our super. For allies, we're going with Superman for his AOE damage, and if you don't have him leveled up, no worries y'all. Another great option here is Cyborg. And we're using Batman Who Laughs for his Luck of the Draw ability, and Emperor Aquaman for his Hear My Call buff on Robot Sidekick. For our build, we'll start out with weapons. We just won't be putting any points here as we simply won't be using it. For movement mode, remember to take your super, then one on the second row of your choosing, doesn't matter which, then grab your innates, acrobatics to the lower right, and everyone else to the left. And under iconics, we're only going to grab Robot Sidekick here, y'all. And for skill points, we're going super powered focus, max out our crit attack chance and damage, and then we're going to throw everything into might and power. Anything left over here is going to go straight into health, because remember y'all, a dead DPS does no DPS. So for comparison's sake, with this build and setup, my might on this tune is 176,500. And now for the star of the show, and that's the loadout. Now remember y'all, we have 3 things going on off of one loadout, so this part is going to be pretty complicated, but I'll break it down in just 1 minute. So we're going to go with Serpent Call, Briar, Voracious Plants, and Harvest. And then we're going to pair that up with Robot Sidekick and Gorilla Form for our super. So the first setup is just as you see, and the rotation is going to be 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, and rinse and repeat the last part. Now, this loadout in itself is hitting right up there with any power and damage, so let's check out what this setup does. Wow, nature does this? Holy cow. Okay, so the original set without a super form change involved is coming in with a low of 177,670. And that's our first parse, and it makes all the sense in the world as the dots are not rolling yet and the strat card's not proccing yet. But look at the high off of this one, y'all. 253, 278. That's incredible for nature, but it is a spike. Now, we had several actually get up into that 240s and 250s range, and this one is going to average out and live in that mid to upper 230s range. Now, our second set comes from Gorilla form. Our loadout here is going to be Vine Lash, Harvest, Impaling Thorns, and Voracious Plants. And we're going to pair that up with Robot Sag Kick and Return to Normal. Now, the rotation here on this one is 1, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 4, and continue on with 2, 3, 4, 4 from there. Both ways you run it will create about the same result as far as damage goes, as we'll see in just a moment, but we're going to look at this from two different angles. The first one is, if you're in Gorilla form and you don't want to change back, then what? So let's see what this loadout does in Gorilla form without the form buff and on its own. So as we can see here, it doesn't dodge far off from what's happening with the regular set, which is great. The low on this one again is 179, 220, and that's not surprising because of the things that we talked about before. But the high on this one spikes all the way up to 269, 982, which is incredible and has a lot to do with the fact that the finisher's in there. Again, this portion looks to live in that 230s range as well, so we don't see any drop off if we just stay in Gorilla form and run a rotation without a buff coming from it. So what gets really crazy with the power is when you have the ability to lay your initial rotation once and then hop into Gorilla form. You can sustain your original dots along with the Vine Lash dot that's now an AOE due to Gorilla Form, and throw your finisher, which is also now an AOE due to Gorilla Form, and you see some massive damage that happens there. There is a damage out buff that does come from Gorilla Form as well, but it's short and only lasts about 15 seconds in duration, but that's not really what we're after with this setup. We really want to make sure that we keep Harvest going, and as long as you keep those dots alive from the original set, then there is no need to switch back, as the damage that will come from this is absolutely ridiculous. The best place to use this one on is going to be in a fight with ads or just on ads that need to be burnt quickly, so let's check out what that's going to look like right quick. Good gracious, that's extreme. So we see the normal part served up with a lower amount of 195, 147, but look at what happened after that. It spikes up to 339,023, and that's with the full buff on Gorilla Mode, which is incredible in itself, but not the important part. The important part here is what happens after that. We get to maintain those dots from the original set and pair that up with what is now an AOE finisher and the extra dot from Vine Lash. That puts this one parsing here at an average of about 280,000. And y'all, that competes with and beats most anything out there. Placement for this once again is really going to be on multiple bosses that we see, and also bosses with ads and large chunks of ads that really need to be burnt quickly. So it does have a specific place that it's going to go, but its burn is absolutely incredible. But in conclusion here, Nature is 100% viable and a hell of a DPS power. This one was really fun as all get out, and unfortunately I hate this, but that wraps up the power set. But thanks y'all for joining, and once again, if you like what you see and you want more, hit that like and subscribe button to help keep the channel growing, and also to not miss one single update as they drop. I'll see y'all next time.